What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
Ross, it is always a pleasure. We appreciate your time this morning.
Oh, dude, pleasure's all mine. Pleasure to be here, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about this Saints draft. You get Fuaga there in the first round. Certainly a position of need. I mean, we're still wondering maybe who are the five guys going to be there protecting Derek Carr. But just like a quick glimpse in looking at this Saints draft, did they feel the needs that they needed to coming into the draft? We talked about their second-round pick, but just as a whole, what do you think about the Saints draft?
Yeah, for sure. I think that this was a draft that started off filling some needs early on. You get good depth at cornerback with Kool-Aid McKinstry in the second round. You get a future, potential future quarterback in Spencer Rattler, the opportunity to see how he can develop. But most of all, you fill out that big need over at the tackle spot with Taliesin, who comes in and is able to be an immediate impact starter for you, plug-and-play guy on the right side if you need him and if Ryan Ramczyk's not ready to go. And I also like the late selection of Christian Boyd out of University of as well. The Saints needed some help with their defensive front, especially in the run game, and I think he's going to help you out there.
Hey, I want to go to Kool-Aid McKinstry because we've talked a lot about the first-round pick, obviously, and I agree with you. I think he's a safe player, and I mean that in a very, very positive way because you feel like he is going to just be plug-and-play. But Kool-Aid McKinstry is a really good football player, so this isn't like a question about him on the field because I think he's going to really be a guy that plays, 6, 8, 10 years in the NFL. But it was a little bit of a luxury pick, and I know you got some guys that are going to be free agents next year, but was Kool-Aid a player that was too good to not move up to 41 to select?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was really tough for the Saints to pass up on. You got to remember, too, that their head coach is a defensive backs guy. Their defensive coordinator is a defensive backs guy, and they got one of the best developers and defensive backs coaches in the league than Marcus Robinson. So I think that that's a big push for that, too. And day two defensive backs are nothing new for the New Orleans Saints either. Alontae Taylor, Paulson Adebo, Von Bell, Marcus Williams, they're all day two guys. And then you look at the fact that this is just a guy that's like a perfect fit. I looked at about 10 different draft boards, like pre-draft big boards, and the average spot for him was around 28, 29. The Saints moving up to get him at 41, that's good value.
All right, I'll go through the list, and you mentioned Spencer Rattler there, and we've probably talked about Spencer Rattler more than any other draft choice here this morning. T-Bob and I caught up with him down in Mobile, and I was really impressed with his mentality. You can tell it's somebody that, he put a Netflix show out there when he's 17 years old. We all would have said stupid things when we were 17 years old, and you're hamming it up for this Netflix show. We understand that, but this is somebody that, at one point he was, hey, this guy's going to be a surefire first rounder. And then, look, he goes through some things, and he has to humble himself, which he did. He goes to South Carolina, and when he was protected there, he had some really big moments. That stretch that he had last year against Tennessee and Clemson, that was one of the best stretches of any quarterback a year ago. And then behind the bomb squad this year, still made plays. I love this selection in the fifth round for the Saints. A quarterback room that's got a lot of players, but it's got a lot of just filler to it, in my opinion. You add a Spencer Rattler to that room, I do that every single time in the fifth round, Ross.
Yeah, I think taking a swing at quarterback was the right thing for this team to do, especially in day three. The fact they were able to grab a guy like Spencer Rattler, who was kind of consensus top 100. They grabbed him at 150 without moving anything. And by the way, shout out to the New Orleans Saints for not leveraging any future draft capital in this draft as well. Not moving up. I know they had to fight the temptation there. They're like, we got so many picks next year. So I love all that, and then compound that with the idea of taking a swing at quarterback, regardless of who the quarterback is. Like I had my pre-draft process reservation around Spencer Rattler. I think a lot of people did because you want to see the maturity and things like that. I think he's got some growth to show. He's got to be able to kind of work on his mechanics when throwing on the run and things like that, if that's really going to be a part of his game, because he's got the mobility, he's got the legs to do that, despite what the 40 time might tell you. And so I think there's some things for him to grow. There's some things for him to kind of, show the coaching staff that he can do. But I don't think that that's a bad thing when you select a quarterback at 150 that could potentially be your QB of the future. You want to try to hit on those opportunities, because if you do, you got a rookie scale contract that allows you to build your team. And in this scenario, you'd have a fifth round rookie scale quarterback on your roster. That's not a bad situation to be in at all.
I know it's tough because you have so many players in that room right now, and you sign them all right now. You draft one, you sign two, and you still have Jake Haener. What do you think that quarterback room looks like? And I know that's tough because, again, you got to go through the preseason, got to go through training camp. Is it three quarterbacks? And if you had to bet, would it be, Nathan Peterman, who is the veteran player, and then maybe you got Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener fighting for that third spot, or do you think they have the opportunity to be the actual backup?
I think they've got an opportunity to be the actual backups. I mean, it's going to be it's interesting because this year you don't have to have your emergency third quarterback doesn't have to be on your active roster anymore. They can be on the practice squad. So it gives you the opportunity to keep two guys on your roster and then get one to your practice squad. It's probably going to be tough to get Rattler to your practice squad, right?
Yeah.
And so I could see the Saints instead maybe looking at the floor for Rattler potentially being a backup quarterback if he can prove all the things that he's got to prove at the next level. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And then one of the other three guys as the practice squad sort of emergency third. And then, of course, you have Taysom on the roster who helps you out there, too, although he'll only be positioned by, designate, or he'll only be quarterback by position designation. He'll do a lot more. But I could certainly see it go that way, and then maybe one of those other three guys end up being that practice squad emergency third wide receiver quarterback. And you know how it goes, Jake, too. Yeah. When you have a new coaching staff that comes in, and then all of a sudden you draft a quarterback, that new coaching staff likes that quarterback, so I don't think they would want to risk him going anywhere else.
No, it's actually a great point. That's going to be their project, their guy, and they're going to do everything they can to get him ready to play. Talking to NFL draft, Saints draft with our guy Ross Jackson here on OTB. I want to keep on with the Saints draft choices. You get Bub Means there in the 5th round as well. This is somebody that is well-traveled, started his career at Tennessee, goes to Louisiana Tech, and then ends his career final 2 seasons at Pitt as a Pitt Panther. And the one thing that stands out to me about Means is he's 6'1", 212 pounds, ran a 4.43, had a vertical of almost 40 inches, threw up 20 reps of 225 on the bench press. I mean, he's got the measurables. He's got the things that you want in the underwear Olympics, and he's had some nice stats there, certainly his last year for the Pitt Panthers, 721 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns as well. What are the Saints getting with Bub Means?
Yeah, I think you're getting a really versatile guy. He can play inside, he can play out. As you mentioned, he checks a lot of boxes being a contested catch guy, but maybe he can have some yards after catch ability for you too with that speed. He's an exciting sort of like project or developmental wide receiver. I don't know if he's going to come in immediately and challenge for that X receiver spot. I think guys like A.T. Perry should be first in line there, but then Equinemi St. Brown as well as of course Cedric Wilson. Although Wilson has done his career best work in the slot, but I think those guys will probably be the ones that are competing at X, and then we'll see if they add another still Michael Gallup and some of the other some other free agents that are out there. But I think that Bub Means is somebody that can contribute from a variety of different places, which gives him a real opportunity to stick on the roster as a rookie. You got to have a lot of pathways to do it. He was also Pitt's top gunner while being their leading wide receiver, so he has some special teams ability as well. So the guy just kind of does everything. And you mentioned those stats that he put up. He put those stats up, by the way, with a big-time drop-off at quarterback play for Pitt. And so I think that that's pretty impressive in another sort of, feather in the hat for him.
Yeah, to Ross's point, the quarterback they brought in from Boston College ended up playing tight end at the end of the year. That tells you how bad the quarterback play was at Pitt. Moving right along, guess what? Another 5th-round choice. I actually really like this one, covering the Sugar Bowl in detail, having a chance to catch up with some of these players. I like Jaylan Ford from Texas. I was surprised he was there in the 5th round, 6'2", 240 pounds. I think he gives you a lot of versatility, and I think he gives you like a core special teams guy, Ross, from day one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where he'll have his immediate impact. And then kind of like the Spencer Rattler pick, he could be your future at quarterback on the defensive side, right? Yeah. He's one of those developmental guys. Let's not create it as an expectation or a guarantee, but like he has that sort of middle linebacker communicator experience. He trusts his instincts, which are really, really good. He's a good read and react kind of play recognition guy as well, just really smart. And so he could be a guy that gets an opportunity to develop and then see what he's able to turn into. He gets to be in that room with, Michael Hodges, who has been a fantastic linebacker coach for New Orleans, and of course, DeMario Davis to see where he can take his game.
All right, you've already mentioned Christian Boyd, who you take out of Northern Iowa there in the 6th round. This is somebody that he was a top 150 prospect, and you get him in the 6th round. Kind of give us a book on Christian Boyd there from Northern Iowa.
Yeah, I think the immediate tag that you're going to get when you talk about him at 6'2", 320-plus pounds is that he's going to be, a run stuffer. And I think that that's right. I think that he helps you be able to do that, kind of think back to Tyler Davison in the past, Malcolm Brown in the past. Saints have kind of been trying to fill that role over the course of the last few years since they traded Malcolm Brown away to Jacksonville. They landed a guy in Malcolm Roach through undrafted free agency, but now he's a Denver Bronco. The Saints didn't take the steps forward last year that they really wanted to take in run defense. I think Christian Boyd helps you there, while also giving you some of that sort of quickness and ability to move that you don't expect at his size that can contribute in the pass rush game as well. So I won't be surprised to see him by the end of the season out-snapping some of the veteran defensive tackles. This is a guy that I'm really, really high on, and I think is going to be a really good kind of partner at one tech with Brian Brzee, letting him focus and be a three-tech pass rusher.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.